All right, everybody. It is Halloween, and what better way to celebrate Halloween than to watch the 2025 edition of the Top 10 Bronze Age Horror Comic Books. We've got another great lineup this year, and I've made some changes, and as I go through the list, I'll explain why I made those changes, and the big question is, will number one from last year remain at the top spot and become a defending champion? And then at the end of the video, stick around and I'll let you listen to some music and see a bunch of other books that didn't quite make the cut. All right, let's get into it, starting with the honorable mentions. First up, we have a new one to our honorable mentions. Has not been in the top 10 or honorable mentions any previous year. This is Ghostly Haunts number 49. So take note of this book, because not only is Charlton becoming more and more popular among collectors, but Tom Sutton especially, as we know. This is a Tom Sutton cover, and a lot of Charlton fans and Tom Sutton fans are thinking that this could be his best work. So I like it. I really enjoy it. I mean, you see the executioner up there just waiting. He's got his axe in hand. The guillotine's ready to go. And you see the bloody, I don't know, what do you call the part that locks the head in place? But you see that down there. It's all bloody and just really nice detail. Tom Sutton masterpiece. Wanted to get it on the list. Let's see how it does in the upcoming year in terms of collectability. There aren't a lot of them out there. Tough to find. And I thought this one was worthy of at least getting into honorable mentions. All right, next honorable mentions. Witching Hour number 1. And this was also an honorable mention last year. Nick Cardy cover, DC 1969. So technically, it's a late Silver Age book. First appearance of Mordred the Witch. And there are a couple other witches as well. Mildred and Cynthia, I believe their names are. But anyway, this kicked off such a great title with lots and lots of good covers that span throughout the entire Bronze Age. So want to give it its dues, but it's not quite a Bronze Age horror book, so that's why it's on the honorable mentions list here. All right, next up, Phantom Stranger number 14. This was in the top 10 last year, so I bumped it out into the honorable mentions, which means we've got at least one new book in the top 10 this year. And not because it's not a great cover, right? Neil Adams goodness here. Kind of a Swamp Thing prototype looking type of monster, the specter of the stalking swamp, if you see the cover there. But I just felt like the books that are in the top 10 are a little more desirable. And remember, right, this is just my opinion in terms of cover art, what my eyes are drawn to, what is delightful to me, what I think screams horror from the Bronze Age. And this one still deserves to be an honorable mention, but didn't quite crack the top 10 based on, the other books that I had to add in this year. All right, but great Neil Adams cover. Next up for honorable mentions, Marvel Spotlight number 2, first appearance of Werewolf by Night. This one was in the top 10 last year. I believe it was number 10, but again, I dropped it out because we had another book, so a couple books now that are going to be new to the top 10, and I just think those might be a little more deserving. So I don't think of this book as the most artistic type of cover in terms of Bronze Age horror. I more so have it as an honorable mention, and again, last year in the top 10 because, the importance of the book, right? First appearance of a great character. Marvel does not have a lot of books that make the top 10 or the honorable mentions, but this is one of the big keys from the Marvel Bronze Age horror time span. So I wanted to make sure it was at least included as an honorable mention. Still a great cover. First appearance, Werewolf by Night. All right, next up on the honorable mention list is Wonder Woman number 199. This is a classic Jeffrey Jones cover from 1972. This was also an honorable mention last year. Great bondage cover. You see Diana there chained up and then the executioner behind her with his axe. Again, you could argue that this is a contender for the top 10. Still not quite at the level of the ones that I put on the list this year. And if you look at issue 200 as well, 199-200, another Jeffrey Jones cover, they are absolutely fantastic. So 200 is very good as well, and I think there's an argument there that maybe issue 200 could even be a little bit better than 199. So 199 has gotten a lot of the attention over the years, but 200 is definitely becoming more and more popular and desirable. So maybe we're going to see it pop up into the list next year. All right, a couple more honorable mentions, then we'll get into the top 10. So up next is House of Mystery number 205 from DC 1972. This is a Jack Sparling cover, and in my opinion, it's his best work. If you look at this, you have Death floating down the river in a coffin, and he's got a vulture on his shoulder. There's a black cat sitting on the coffin, just kind of minding his own business as they float down the river to do who knows what. But just a great cover. The full moon in the background. It's fantastic detail. Just has a really nice horror look to it. Kind of a gothic bronze type of look. Fantastic work by Jack Sparling. So again, another honorable mention. All right, another one. DC again, 1972. This is House of Mystery 206. A fantastic Scarecrow cover by Tony DeZuniga. And again, I say it all the time, I'm a sucker for Scarecrow covers, and this is just a different take on it. You know, it's got the jack-o'-lantern head, a knife stuck in its chest, and it looks like it's about to attack these kids here. Great job by Tony DeZuniga. All right, last but not least, House of Mystery 174. This was in the top 10 last year, and I moved it out for this specific reason. It's because technically it's a Silver Age book, just like we talked about earlier in this video with Witching Hour number 1. This is from 1968, and I still want to leave it in the honorable mentions list because it's such an important book, because it really opened the doors for DC Bronze Age horror. And you know that this cover was also homaged multiple other times, including Brave and the Bold 93 or 95, right? One of those two. And this is a Joe Orlando and George Rousseau cover. Just you have that creepy monster figure that's beckoning the kids to come in through the haunted doors right there. So great job by those two. Classic cover, not in the top 10, but worthy of being an honorable mention. All right, that's it for honorable mentions. Let's get into the top 10 and see who's coming in at number 1 this year. All right, starting off the list at number 10 is House of Secrets 103, a Bernie Wrightson cover. Okay, so I gotta admit something. This was not in my top 10 or my honorable mentions last year at all. Probably a miss on my part. Not my most favorite cover, but this is highly desirable by collectors. The black cover by Bernie Wrightson. Bernie Wrightson loved doing black covers. You see the smoke coming off the guy's fingers there, and it's turning into a skull. Just really well done. And again, is it one of my favorites? No, but I think sometimes in these top 10 lists, right, you've got to take in the voice of the community and understand what's desirable by them as well. So great work by Bernie Wrightson as always. Up next at number 9, Tomb of Dracula number 1. This was an honorable mention last year, but I decided to move it into the top 10 because the cover is just too iconic. There have been tons of homages on this cover over the years, even very recently, right? Every year it seems like there's some companies doing an homage of Tomb of Dracula number 1. So great Neil Adams cover. First appearance of Dracula in Marvel Comics. Iconic with him standing there holding the woman who's passed out. And this book went on for, I believe, 70 issues. And there are a few keys in there, but this one is the most notable by far. So there you have it. Coming in at number 9, Dracula. Next up, back to DC, House of Mystery 217. This one was number 9 last year, so this is from 1973. Another Bernie Wrightson cover. We're going to be hearing his name a lot. We've already heard it. We're going to hear it a lot more, I have a feeling. This is the Haunted Tree cover. Look at that sinister-looking tree in the swamp, and it's grabbing onto one of the kids there, and it doesn't look good for him. But anyway, this is a great cover. Again, highly desirable. And whenever I have my claim sales and I have one of these books, it's snapped up almost immediately. So Bernie Wrightson with some more great work. Next up, At number 7, so this is the definition of Gothic bronze. Sinister House of Secret Love, issue number 1. This was number 6 last year, so it dropped down by 1 spot, but essentially in the same place. This is from 1971, and it's a Victor Kalin cover. We don't hear his name very often, but this is absolutely fantastic work. And just the detail of the castle in the background, the lady running across the drawbridge there. Well, I don't know if it's a drawbridge or what. And then there's, you have to look closely, and there's a guy standing behind her that looks like he could be coming after her, but it's pretty eerie. So, there's some gray tones to this, but you've got the full moon in the background as well. Again, true Gothic bronze, and just a wonderful piece of work by Victor Kalin. Next up at number 6, Tom Sutton does it again, arguably his best work. This is Ghost Manor 23. It was number 8 on the list last year, so it's creeping its way up. We saw another one of his covers in the honorable mentions. This one, I believe, is still his best work, and he's got some others as well that I'll probably show him in, at the end of the video with some of the other books, just floating them in and off the screen there. But anyway, the old man, creepy old man in the chair, and the teddy bear. The teddy bear is what does it for people, with those razor sharp teeth and then the razor claws on, the arms and the legs. Just really well done. The detail is fantastic. The cobwebs. Tom Sutton masterpiece for sure. So that is number 6. Let's get into the top 5. Coming in at number 5, and this one is up a couple spots. It was number 7 last year. House of Secrets 123. The melting face on the ice cream cone being held by the skull hand. Frank Robbins cover, again, a name we don't hear very often, kind of like a one-hit wonder. I'm sure Frank Robbins did a lot of great work, but in terms of Bronze Age horror, this is really the only one that people talk about and know about. So, beautiful purple background, hard to find in high grade, and you can imagine when any of these are like 9.0 plus, it commands a pretty hefty price. So, really, really nice job by Frank Robbins. All right, coming in at number 4. This one was number 2 last year, so dropping a couple spots. Batman 227, classic Neal Adams cover from 1970, and an homage to Detective Comics 31. Just a great cover with the shadow of Batman in the background behind that haunted house there, and the full moon and the bats in the background, and then this maiden being chased by a man and his wolves there. So, masterpiece by Neal Adams. Just a great book, and again, very, very pricey. Hard to get in high grade. Okay, coming in next at number 3, Bernie Wrightson does it again. And again, another black cover. DC Super Spectacular number 4. A lot of people call this Weird Mystery Tales number 4 because that's the title on the cover. But the official title is DC Super Spectacular number 4, 1971. Little known fact, Bernie Wrightson also appears in the story here, and last year this came in at number 3, so it maintains its same spot. I think some people, some avid diehard collectors, would argue this could be number 1, and everything's subjective here. I could see an argument for that, but I'm keeping it at number 3. Tough to find with the black cover, and the back of this book also is all black as well, and just as tough to maintain. You get lots of fingerprints on this cover, so again, highly desirable, very pricey. All right, coming in at number 2 is last year's number 1 book, which means we're gonna have a new champion for 2025. But coming in at number 2 is House of Secrets 92 from 1970. Again, another Neal Adams cover. Also the first appearance of Swamp Thing, full moon in the background. Fantastically done. The brush strokes on this book are really what make it what it is. And the only reason I dropped it out of the number 1 spot is because I think what did take the top spot just had a lot of momentum over the past year. And but by no means is this a book losing any kind of steam when it comes to Bronze Age horror and collectors. It's I guess the only thing I would say about it is that it's a little more available than maybe some of the other books on this list. I think DC in general, DC Bronze Age horror is harder to find than, say, like Marvel Bronze Age horror. But this one, compared to some of the other DC books, is a little easier to find. And maybe because it's such a big key issue that lots of people have sent it in for grading over the years. And, you know, they're just out there. But nonetheless, a fantastic cover by Bernie Wrightson. All right, here it is. It's time. The number one Bronze Age horror comic book for 2025 is Secrets of Haunted House number 5. Another Bernie Wrightson cover. The classic Jack-o'-lantern cover. Again, 1975. Last year, this was not even in the top 10. It was an honorable mention, and I did mention that it barely missed the cut to get into the top 10. So how did it jump, in my mind, right? This is just my opinion, but how did it jump from an honorable mention to number 1? Well, I think the collectability of this book and the desire for it over the past year has grown significantly. And not that it wasn't a popular book last year. And I think it probably was a miss on my part not putting it somewhere in the top 10. I can admit that. I'll take the heat for that. But just finding this book in high grade, and again, another black cover. Bernie Wrightson loved his black covers. Makes it very difficult to find in higher grade. And I think the fact that some of these other books may be, like I said, a little more available or a little easier to find kind of makes this one, the collectability, a little more significant as well. But you've got the jack-o'-lantern there and the creature inside of it, which is beckoning for you to come closer. And then the shadow of the jack-o'-lantern right at the bottom of the front cover there. Just a really nice touch by Bernie Wrightson. And he did some great pumpkin and jack-o'-lantern covers, but this is probably his best. So that's it. Number 1 for 2025. Let me know what you think. I know some people may disagree with what I had at number 1, or books in other places, or maybe books I just flat out missed. But leave me your comments. Let me know what you think. I have fun putting this list together. I hope you had fun watching it as well. Stick around here, listen to some music, and look at some other Bronze Age horror comics that didn't quite make the list. And I hope everyone has a great and happy Halloween.
Ha 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 ha.